queuing up here. It's another one for Paul.
Heading into last night's match against AC Milan, I looked at Celtic starting 11 and I looked at AC Milan starting 11, and you have to say, player for player, they almost completely outmatched us. So it was always going to be a tough game against a top quality team. They're unbeaten in 20 games. They're unbeaten in 20 games coming into this one. After winning the Milan derby at the weekend, they were also coming in on a high compared to us, coming in on a low after losing 2-0 in the Glasgow derby. So it was more about performance, I thought, than result last night after our abysmal performance against Rangers on Saturday. So how did we do? Felt like it was a bright start in the opening 10 minutes. Thought maybe we'd shaken off Saturday's performance. We owed the fans a big one here. Certainly the players must have felt like they owed the fans a big one after Saturday. But after 10 minutes, I felt like Milan settled into the game and began to really take control. And I thought, oh no, we're going to be in for another long 90 minutes here. The rest of the first half, Milan completely dominated and got their 2 goals. At that point, you really were fearing the worst. In particular for AC Milan, I have to say, I was really impressed by Franck Kessie. Only really familiar with him from Football Manager before last night, but I think he's going to go on to be a big player here. The whole Milan team, top to bottom, is filled with quality. However, we came out for the second half and looked much better, and I would say the main turning point of the game for Celtic was the introduction of Tom Rogic. I was glad at half-time to see Neil Lennon make 2 subs. On Saturday, I was really disappointed when he left Clement on for the second half. LNUC as well. I remember thinking, don't give them 10 minutes to turn things around. It's not going to happen. So at least last night, he was proactive and made the subs at halftime. So the big turning point was, of course, the introduction of Tom Rogic. Once he got on the pitch, Celtic just looked a different team. He is everything we're missing at the minute, Tom Rogic. I'm so glad, if you remember in the summer, he was linked with a £4 million move to the Middle East. Absolutely delighted that that didn't happen, because Tom Rogic is everything that we don't have. He has the ability to turn a game, flair, he can spot a pass. His passing and vision last night was absolutely superb. And in many ways, I think he could be one of the most important players for Celtic this season. The big thing with Rogic always is his fitness. Even if he can play an hour, or even if he can come on for 30, 40 minutes and turn things around in games where we're struggling to create. Tom Rogic last night was the turning point for Celtic performance-wise, because the first half, certainly from the 10, 15 minute onward mark, it looked like it was going to be another repeat of Saturday's performance. When Ryan Christie went to take the corner, I thought, oh no, here we go. Christie's deliveries have been for a long while a major problem for us. So often hits the first man, as he did late on in the match a couple of times. So when he stood up, when he went to take the corner, which resulted in our goal last night, I was pleasantly surprised to see LNUC getting on the end of it to make it 2-1. So I'm hoping, after his performance on Saturday, I'm hoping that this goal for LNUC will help turn things around, because I think there is a player there. In many ways, he was the worst player on the pitch on Saturday, but I still think there's a good player, and if we can get more out of him, again, it could be important for us as the season goes on. The momentum and improvement in play in the second half, I think, could be enough to spark a turnaround for Celtic. Going into the second half, it was starting to feel like, could this be the beginning of the end for Neil Lennon in terms of on Sunday, if we're still performing like this, even a win against Aberdeen on Sunday with an abysmal performance, you would still have question marks over Lennon's head. There was one point last night where it cut to Lennon and Gavin Strachan on the bench together looking at a laptop. I genuinely thought they were just simulating the game in Football Manager. But that period of play where we did play well last night makes me think that Lennon still can turn this around. Obviously, all the importance goes on to Aberdeen on Sunday. We'll talk about that shortly though, because I do want to do a marks out of 10 for the entire team. So, starting in nets, Barkas. At halftime, I saw him getting a lot of criticism on Twitter for the goals. I saw people calling for Scott Bain to be put back in nets. I really think that the criticism for Barkas has gone way overboard. Again, has he been like Fraser Foster? Has he impressed massively? No, but he hasn't done anything yet still to make me think he's a dud, like I've seen some people calling him. The call for Scott Bain to come back, I think Scott Bain is an average, bog-standard Scottish League goalkeeper. Any number of goalkeepers, I think, could play his role at Celtic in terms of being the keeper on the bench you would turn to only if our main goalie is injured or having an abysmal spell of form. I've seen nothing from Barkas that makes me think that he needs to be replaced yet. And for last night's performance, I'm giving Barkas a 6. So right wing back, the game started with 3-5-2 or 5-3-2. Right wing back was Frimpong. If Frimpong had an end product to his game, he would be an unbelievable player. He tried to make things happen last night. He ran at their defence, and they do have a quality left back, your guy Hernandez. But I still thought Frimpong looked good up against him. Frimpong, I'm going to give a 6 because his final distribution wasn't there, as is often the problem with Frimpong. But he tried to make things happen. He didn't shy away from the game. I'm going to give Frimpong a 6. Centre back on Saturday, I said Shane Duffy had his worst performance yet for Celtic. I'm going to change that now. I think last night was actually Shane Duffy's worst performance. Caught out time and time again. Him and Callum McGregor look like the Chuckle Brothers for that other Milan goal. I know the Shane Duffy's distribution isn't great, and he isn't that sort of player. He's not a ball-playing defender, but he needs to improve it. So we went into the game, once again, playing 3 centre-backs, playing the 3-5-2. And when we swapped to 4-2-3-1, we looked so much better. The thing is, we have 3 first-team centre-backs now in the form of Duffy, Ayer and Julian. Based on last night, if we were to swap to 4 at the back and you had to bench one of them, it would have to be Duffy. I don't see that happening because he has the big reputation. He's arrived for a big loan fee and we're covering his wages. And we've probably promised him first-team football. But at the minute, if we're swapping to a back 4, the choice is you have to drop one of either Ayer, Julian or Duffy. It would definitely be Duffy for me at the minute. Now, I still have faith that he will turn things around and start to perform better. Stephen Welsh was given another start after looking well on Saturday. Again, I wouldn't go overboard with the praise for Welsh's performance on Saturday. Because he's a youth player, I will cut him some more slack, but I do think sometimes when a youth player comes in and does an average job, people big them up a bit much. Welsh last night, I thought, didn't play as well as he did on Saturday. Of course, he got subbed at half-time when the game was going against us more. Nothing to make me think that Welsh is a complete bomb scare, but I don't think he's anywhere near ready to be a first-team player for Celtic, and certainly not at this level. Maybe in some Scottish League games and Cup games we can give him another few starts, but I wouldn't start him again in the Europa League for the next 5 group games. Beside him, I would give Welsh a 5 for his performance and give Shane Duffy a 4. Beside them at centre-back, Christopher Ayer. I thought Ayer played brilliantly last night. Linked with a move to AC Milan throughout the summer. Maybe he was trying to show them what they could have had. I thought Ayer controlled the game brilliantly, brought the ball out at times, showed real leadership, something we've been lacking outside of Scott Brown maybe this season. I thought Ayer stood up last night, quality performance, and would be my man of the match for Celtic. Great defending, great distribution for a centre-back, carried the ball, looked to make things happen, got stuck in. Man of the match performance from Christopher Ayer, and I'm going to give him an 8 out of 10. Diego Lexalt on loan from Milan, so playing against his parent club, which would always be a tough thing. If you remember when we played Man City in the Champions League and had Patrick Roberts on loan, he actually scored against City. So last night, Lexalt against his parent club made his debut on Saturday and played well, and I think he played well once again last night. He looks to make things happen. He doesn't shy away. He certainly gets stuck in. He got stuck in repeatedly last night. Didn't let his performance drop against his former teammates. And for Lexalt, I'm going to give him a 7. Scott Brown, I didn't think he played particularly poorly or particularly well. I would say once Brown went off, I felt like our performance went up. So I couldn't rate Brown too highly. Without playing abysmal, I think maybe we'll just describe it as Brown not having his best game, and we'll give Brown a 5. Callum McGregor has been one of, if not our most consistent performer for ever since Brendan Rodgers came in. However, last night, I thought this was a very poor performance from McGregor. Again, the mix-up for the goal, you could even take some of the blame away from Duffy and put it on to McGregor for them running into each other. His distribution, even the one thing you always expect from Callum McGregor is good, solid, safe passing. Last night, he didn't even bring that. I'm going to give McGregor a 5 for his performance. I'll cut him some slack because he's been so consistent. Beside him, Olivier Ntcham came in for so much criticism at the weekend for his performance, and rightly so, against Rangers, where he looked like he shied away from things. And in the first half last night, when things weren't going well, I thought, here we go, it's going to be another performance from Ntcham. I noticed for corners and free kicks, he kept standing beside the taker, and he would never take it. And so his involvement in play, he just didn't have any involvement whatsoever. I wondered why he kept doing that. But when we turned things around in the second half, I thought a lot of his passing was actually very good. And that is something that you would like to see and expect more from Ntcham. Not to shy away from the game, to spray some passes around. I thought in the second half in particular, he did that to a good extent. So I'm going to give Ntcham a 6. And the 2 forwards at the start of the game were Griffiths and Ayeti. Don't think either of them had much of an impact in that first half. Griffiths got subbed at halftime. May have been more of a fitness thing or possibly just a change shape. Got to give Griffiths a 5. Again, maybe not much service in the first half when we were under the cosh, mainly. I thought Ayeti, I was hoping for just maybe something a bit more from Ayeti, because he comes in with a big rep from West Ham. We spent big money on him. I'm also going to give Ayeti a 5. Neither of them performed abysmally. We weren't attacking at all in the first half, so it's harsh to rate them too low. I'll give both Griffiths and Ayeti a 5. Off the bench, as we mentioned, Tom Rogic was the turning point in the game for me, and everything that we're missing right now. I would give Rogic like Ajer an 8. I'm giving Ajer man of the match because he played the full game, whereas Rogic just came on in the second half. But Tom Rogic could be such a big player going forward this season for us. Ryan Christie came off the bench as well, and I wasn't particularly pleased to see Christie. I know people were saying, well, we didn't have a shot on target on Saturday, and with Christie, at least you're always guaranteed that. But he surprised me last night. He played better than I thought he was going to, in terms of, I thought it would be a lot of running, a lot of effort, and very little end product from Christie. But he got the assist for the corner and played well throughout, so I would give Christie a 7. El Yunusi, a man who I gave a very harsh rating to on Saturday, came in, didn't particularly impress off the bench, but for the goal alone, I think you would have to give him a 6. Neither Taylor or Klimala, the other two subs, were on for long enough, so I won't rate their performance. Let me know your own thoughts as well for marks out of 10 for the players who started and those who came off the bench. We now go into Sunday against Aberdeen at Pittodrie, one of the biggest games of the season. By the time Monday morning comes around, we could be as few as a point behind or as many as 7 points behind. So let me know your predictions for the game on Sunday, and thanks very much for watching this video.